Today, the mood is different for anyone who carries Toronto Blue Jays blue on their chest. Eric Swanson's retirement, a reliever who spent time in Seattle, Toronto, and so many places on a map that became home, closes a meaningful chapter for a guy respected inside and outside the bullpen. And at the same time, the front office faces a winter full of heavy decisions. Bassett ensures on the market, open rotation spots, and Mitch Keller's name emerging as a possible answer in a moment when every move might define the direction of next season. It's one of those days when the past hits hard and the future demands answers. If you're enjoying the content, drop a like and leave a comment, because the true Blue Jays fan base always shows up when the team needs it most. So let's get to it. The situation around Eric Swanson begins with feeling any longtime fan of this team knows well. The sense that some careers seem to fly by too quickly. The Jays bullpen has lived through good phases and rough ones, nights full of tension, but always relied on personalities who handled pressure quietly. Swanson was exactly that. An arm that arrived from Seattle with expectations, wore the blue and white with professionalism, and even while dealing with ups and downs and the weight of a pressured roster, carried the reliever routine with the seriousness the moment demanded. When the team designated him for assignment in the middle of last season, many knew his path was nearing the end, but few imagined retirement would come so fast. And what came after, nobody expected. The official announcement, made by Swanson himself, carried a human tone only someone who has lived baseball's road truly understands. He spoke about cities that became home, friendships spread across big markets, and tiny stops hardly anyone knows. He remembered Seattle, Toronto, Winnipeg, Hickory. He thanked everyone. And in that message, more than in any number, you could feel how much he understood the weight and the privilege of playing this game for 7 MLB seasons. He ends his career with an 11-16 record, 246 games, an entire journey built since the 2014 draft. But the question that stays with a fan is simple. Where does a bullpen like the Jays feel the loss of a player like this the most? Behind the scenes, the reaction was one of respect. Even those who didn't follow Swanson closely know players like him matter in clubs living under constant pressure. When a team goes through instability, like Toronto did last season, quiet, experienced figures become even more valuable. For the fan base, the news hit as a reminder of how unpredictable baseball is. One day you arrive in a trade for Teoscar Hernandez, the next you're trying to find your place, and suddenly the career is over. It's a shock that reveals a lot about the Jays' current moment. Transition, uncertainty, and the need to start over. And when we look at this retirement in the context of the franchise, it represents more than the departure of a reliever. It connects to a broader picture of a team shifting pieces, adjusting its rotation, rethinking its direction. Swanson felt like part of a group that could keep contributing, but baseball doesn't wait. Just like so many other phases Toronto has lived through, this one also carries a heavy contrast. Memories of a player who gave himself to the game, and the awareness that the organization is entering yet another cycle of deep changes. And the feeling among fans? A mix of respect, nostalgia, and that desire to see the team rediscover its identity. So let's move forward. The starting point of the second story is a scenario that has already been worrying anyone who follows the team closely. The Blue Jays rotation is going through one of those delicate stretches where tough decisions become unavoidable. With Chris Bassett and Max Scherzer hitting free agency, Toronto enters the winter needing to rebuild almost half of its group of starters. It's a heavy situation, because the team is coming off an unstable season marked by bullpen adjustments, inconsistent performance, and that constant feeling that depth was missing when it mattered most. And now, with big names leaving, the pressure falls directly on the front office. The core of the rotation still includes Kevin Gausman, Shane Bieber, and rookie Trey Yesovich, but the two open spots create exactly the kind of uncertainty the fan base fears the most. And what came after, nobody expected. In the middle of this context, Mitch Keller emerges as a real and logical possibility. Joel Reuter's report makes the fit seem almost natural. Keller has 3 years of control, ideal age, solid numbers, and a contract that, while sizable, is still manageable for a team trying to stay competitive. For an organization that already needs to think about what would cost keep Scherzer for another short stint, or what to do with Berrios' contract, still large and difficult to move, the alternative of a trade with Pittsburgh sounds strategic. Keller threw 176 innings with a 4.19 ERA. A performance that places him exactly in the tier Toronto needs. Someone who doesn't have to be an ace, just stabilize the rotation. But the question hangs in the air. Is it worth turning this rotation uncertainty into a medium-term investment? The logical reaction to this scenario shows a front office trying to find balance in a tense moment. Keller's name is circulating precisely because it solves two issues at once. It brings a reliable starter and relieves some pressure from Bieber and Yesevich, who can't carry the start of next season on their own. For the fan base, the discussion creates that mix of curiosity and apprehension, because we've seen Toronto dive into aggressive negotiations before, and the cost doesn't always pay off. On top of that, the Barrios situation adds even more weight. He's still at $67 million owed. He's frustrated with being moved to the bullpen, and any trade attempt depends not only on market value, but on rebuilding mutual trust. It's the kind of situation that exposes internal tension and reinforces how much pressure front office is under. When we look at all of this within the bigger picture of the franchise, it's clear this moment resembles other critical phases in recent years. Times when Toronto had to decide whether to double down on offensive firepower or reinforce the rotation at all costs. Now, with the possibility of adding Kyle Tucker and maintaining a competitive lineup, the need is to build a rotation solid enough not to waste offensive talent. The Keller discussion represents not just a possible solution, but a snapshot of an organization trying to balance urgency and patience. And the Blue Jays fan base feels in the air. That mix of hope, anxiety, and the eternal question of which version of the team will show up on opening day. So let's close this journey. Today makes clear how the Blue Jays are living through one of those moments when past and future cross paths in a symbolic way. Eric Swanson's farewell brings that respectful silence only someone who follows the game understands. The sense that an important cycle ends but leaves marks in the clubhouse, the bullpen, and in the memory of the fan base. And right after that, the discussion about the rotation exposes the other side of the story. A team that needs to reorganize, that has open gaps, that is searching for solutions in names like Mitch Keller to avoid losing rhythm while the lineup tries to stay among the strongest in the league. This combination, nostalgia for who leaves and tension for what's coming, defines much of what it is meant to root for Toronto in recent years. Sometimes it feels like we're always between two versions of the team, the one that promises to contend, and the one struggling to put the pieces together. But in the end, the fan base stays strong because they know Toronto Blue always finds a way to pulse again when the season begins. Drop your thoughts on this moment, Blue Jays fans, and leave a like to show that this passion stays alive, even on the days when the team leaves more questions than answers.